Hey Lightweights, and thank you for tuning in to my Horizon Forbidden West first hands-on preview from IGN reaction video. This one's gonna be a little different than some of my other reaction videos. I'm gonna try it and see how it goes. Typically with my reaction videos, I just give my reaction, and then at the end I kind of give a breakdown on all of my thoughts, things I'm excited for, questions I have, that sort of thing. This one I'm gonna do a little differently, and I'm gonna potentially like pause in the video to kind of give my thoughts. I quickly scanned through this and it looks like we see a lot of new gameplay, a lot of the new mechanics and things like that. So since it's a bit longer, I want to make sure that I'm touching on everything that I am seeing, that I have a thought on. So I might be pausing during the video to kind of give my thoughts, reflections, and then continuing on. I might be talking over parts of it. So if you just want like a typical reaction video, this is not going to be that, so you can go ahead and skip it. But we're just gonna try it and see. It's gonna be a completely different format, way out of my wheelhouse, totally out of my comfort zone. Typically I don't do like breakdowns or anything like that, and I don't think that's gonna be what this is, but it is a longer video, and I just want to make sure that I'm able to touch on everything that I am seeing, that I'm feeling as the video progresses. So we're gonna try and see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts in the description if you'd like me to do formats like this or videos similar to this in the future, or if you're like, no, that was not for me, dog. Do something different. So we'll kind of see how it goes, but I'm excited to try. I'm excited to actually watch this. Like I said, I did skim through it, but I was kind of just like fast forwarding to see if this is something I would want to react to. So while I did see some images already, obviously, for the most part, this is going in blind. So I might say some things that don't make sense. My dog might come in and start shaking to let us know he's here. But I'm really excited for this, and I hope you are too. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell button when you do, so that you know when I post my next video, whatever that may be. And let's do this.
Horizon Zero Dawn introduced an amazing foundation to Guerrilla Games' post-apocalyptic world. Following it up is no small feat, but after 4 hours of hands-on time with early portions of its sequel, Horizon Forbidden West is shaping up to be a fulfillment of all the promises made by its predecessor. Combat is more complex, exploration is more freeing, and the world is teeming with more intriguing life, both robotic and human, and meaningful things to do. The Forbidden West in all its glory still waits to be seen.
Okay, so right away, the first scenes they show us are these expansive environmental shots, and holy shit, do they look beautiful. They look so beautiful. I cannot wait for them to actually be on my screen. They were so pretty. The next thing I notice is the climbing seems to already be different. I'm not going to talk about that just in case they touch on that. But from that one scene of her scaling the rock wall, we see kind of the ledges glowing versus paint. So I'm wondering if it's more what's it called? Focus. I wonder if it's more our focus showing us those things versus people from various tribes painting handholds. But I'll be curious to see if they address that too. So let's keep watching.
But I'm not forbidden from telling you about so much of why it's an adventure on which I can't wait to embark. My time with Forbidden West didn't start exactly where Aloy's journey begins in the sequel, but rather a little into her quest to find new answers and maybe save humanity along the way.
It's been 6 months since the events of Horizon Zero Dawn, and Aloy has noticed throughout the world that this red blight is kind of encroaching everywhere. And this is a world-ending threat, and she has to find a way to stop it.
The first big question I had when jumping in was how much freer exploration actually would be. Zero Dawn did many things right, but its climbing navigation was one of its most frustrating limitations. Forbidden West doesn't make every single inch of its world climbable, which may be disappointing to some, but it was immediately apparent and appreciable just how much more of the world is scalable, and how fun it is to do so.
Yeah, that's definitely from our
focus.
And
it's made better by an improved focus. A quick click of R3 causes a pulse scan around Aloy, revealing resources to pick up, as well as, more importantly, highlighting climbable parts of the world. Another nice addition is the Pullcaster, a fancy sort of grappling hook that lets the player pull Aloy to harder to reach or further points. It's even something that can be used in conjunction with the Shield Wing, a glider Aloy obtained near the end of my demo. Launching off a point, letting Aloy soar through the skies, and pull casting to an interesting spot on a nearby cliff face creates a real degree of freedom missing in Zero Dawn's movement.
I know people love Breath of the Wild. I've never played a Zelda game. I tried to play Breath of the Wild, like when I very first had access to a Switch. And what I didn't like, now granted, I didn't give it much of a shot, so don't crucify me in the comments. But what I didn't like is the stamina bar. I don't like when things have a stamina bar that limit how long I can climb for, how long I can glide for. And I really struggled with that just because I've never really played a game like that before. So I hope they don't implement that in this. It didn't look like there was stamina in terms of how long you could glide for. But maybe it's something with the glider, like the glider can only be open for so long or something like that. Like if you give me a tool, I want to be able to use it however long I want to use it for, if that makes sense. But it is cool what he said. You can use the glider into the, sorry, I just hit my microphone, into the, what did he call it? The Pullcaster. That's going to make traversal really interesting. And it's also probably going to make combat really interesting. I have a feeling I'm not going to be that creative during combat. You guys know me. I'm lightweight gaming for a reason. I'm not an expert. Mr. Light and I played together a couple months ago just to refresh our brains for Horizon. Now I'm forgetting the original name. Horizon Zero Dawn. And we beat it on New Game Plus, the hardest difficulty. So like I'm pretty good at this game, but my combat is not outside of the box thinking. I'm not. So I'll be curious to see like if there are certain situations where you have to be creative in order to get through them, or if I can, just roll and shoot my way out of things without doing the creative combat. But either way, I have a feeling some people are going to get really creative with their combat styles, and that's going to be really exciting to see.
Forbidden West seems purpose-built to ensure that everything you do has more worthwhile and varied rewards. Deeper settlements is a core part of Forbidden West, and if my time in Chainscrape, the first one I came across, is any indication, there will be a lot for players to find, discover, and lose hours.
Is this an offshoot of the Oseram?
We really wanted to improve. We really wanted to kind of listen to the fans and listen to our reviewers, and also based on our own internal feedback. And so there was a whole set of things we wanted to do with settlements,
there's kids.
Including general sense of them being more lifelike.
I don't remember there being kids before.
Better schedules for the NPCs. And also audio. We really wanted to improve the sort of crowd audio in the sense that when you go into any given place in a settlement, it has its own kind of audio personality. And we also have a situation where Aloy's going in to the Forbidden West and encountering new tribes, specifically the Utaru and
God, just look at that.
Tanakh. And we really wanted to make sure those were as differentiated as possible with, NPCs doing things that they would only do in that tribe to give it that sense of life.
The center point of the town, a busy brewery, had so many cute little bespoke animations of characters sharing a pint, laughing at stories being told, and more. But settlements aren't going to be just full of NPCs you can't interact with. There seem to be more side quests and worthwhile ones at that. There is also a wider swath of side objectives I encountered in and out of town, like melee fight pits, environmental puzzles, and even more, like an in-universe board game called Machine Strike that I'm already setting aside a dozen or so hours to lose playing in.
That's
and
cool.
All of these objectives don't feel like one of any open world's biggest potential problems. Filler. Instead, narrative director Ben McCaw explained how everything is built with more and better rewards in mind, whether they be new equipment, outfits, weapons, or key pieces of lore.
It's great to have a huge open world, but if all of the activities in it feel kind of tacked on or not related or not essential, that's not a great feeling. We wanted to make sure that there's a certain path through this game where if players want to experience the main quest and kind of get to the end of the story as quickly as possible, that they could do that. And also, there's definitely a progression through this game that's really focused on combat. But if there is going to be an activity in the world, a board game, a melee pit, even a camp or outpost associated with Regala's rebels, or there are other examples, things that return from the previous game. They all need to feel part of the world. They all need to be part of the story.
So I wanted to pause it before, but he was still talking. So now there's like a million thoughts running through my head. But I like that they said the side stuff is going to feel more ingrained in the story, more meaningful, because after having played Arkham Knight, the side stuff was meaningful, but it felt very repetitive. It was the same thing over and over and over again. Get this outpost, get this mine, chase down this car, that sort of thing. Stop this bank heist. They had like different categories, but within those categories, it was just the same thing over and over and over again. And I don't mind repetitiveness, especially when I like doing it. Like in Zero Dawn, I loved the outposts. I loved trying to stealth through them. Y'all know I'm horrible at stealth, but I love to try. And I looked forward to doing all of the outposts. So I didn't mind that there was a bunch that I had to do. But if they're focusing more on making that more meaningful in this game, that's never a bad thing. So I'll be curious to see how exactly they do that, because in Zero Dawn, with the outposts, you'd get a fast travel point, you'd get a merchant, but that was pretty much it. Some people would move back into the area, but it was really just like one merchant and one fast travel point. So it didn't do much for you other than giving you access to containers and XP, and I think that's pretty much it that you got from those. So I'll be curious to see. I hope that they bring that back, but I'll be curious to see how they ingrain it more into the story. Also, as a side tangent, I had seen on Twitter, now people were debating whether or not this was true, so it could be false. So don't take me at my word. But I did see through the rumor mill that if you were to do the main story and all of the side stuff, it's hundreds of hours, I think, or 800 hours, something like that. But I think it was hundreds of hours of content, which I'm all for. I will not be doing all of that on the channel. Just a heads up. But when I find an open world game that I love, I am all for spending hundreds of hours in it. Skyrim, check. Witcher, check. Love it, love it, love it. But I do wonder how much of a backlash people are going to give for that, because I know a lot of people feel like games are too big now. I am not one of those camps. But I know a lot of people are. So I'll be curious to see if they get backlash or not, because in the interview, he said you could just focus on the main story. You can just focus on the combat stuff. You don't have to do the other things, but if you do, it will add to your experience. And he mentioned things like new outfits, which makes me wonder, how are they going to explain me losing my badass armor that I spent way too long finding power cores to unlock? Because I worked for that armor. So how are they going to explain me not having it? Because especially in the DLC, the Frozen Wilds, I think that's what it was really freaking hard. Really freaking hard. And that armor saved my butt on more than one occasion. So what's happening to my armor? Because I don't want to lose that. But it seems like I'm going to. So it better be a good explanation about why. I better not just pop into the world and not have it anymore.
I enjoyed much of Zero Dawn's ensemble, but I kind of fell in love with almost every character, new and old, big and small, in Forbidden West. Aloy has been endearing from minute one, but Ashley Birch plays her with such a charming determination that is as enjoyable to watch in action as she defies bureaucrats unwilling to take action to get things done, as it is painful to see keep her at arm's length from close friends like Erend and Petra, who care so deeply for her.
I'm asking nicely.
Arrest her!
I'd like to see you try.
So what we wanted to do with Aloy
is
just put her under as much pressure as possible. And so obviously she has the pressure of trying to resolve the Blight, which is a world-ending threat, and she has all the other pressures of like fighting machines and just trying to survive in this world. But she also has this other pressure of trying to live up to the example of her genetic mother, Elizabeth Sobek. This is probably one of the greatest people in history and someone who literally almost single-handedly saved the world. That's a very, very high bar for Aloy to live up to, and it affects her interactions with other people. It's also important to remember that this is someone who grew up an outcast and only just started to interact with the world as a whole in the previous game.
And while this opening section teased some of the new tribes Aloy will interact with in the West, it also heralded the arrival of her new enemy, Regalla. And what an introduction it is.
Lancers! Form up!
Played with such power by Angela Bassett, Regalla is immediately positioned as a force to be reckoned with. and it only appears to scratch the surface of her power.
Aloy's companions offer different interactions that display different aspects of Aloy's personality. And this is something that carries through the whole game. It's actually one of the major themes of the game is how does she relate to other people? How does she relate to her companions? How does that change her as a person? And Aloy's companions are really central to the story and the themes of the Forbidden West. It's really the way that she relates to each of them differently and the impact that they have on her that really forces her to kind of evolve her personality throughout the game.
Errand!
Luckily, Aloy has a few new friends and new tools and skills at her disposal to rise to the occasion.
So I'm glad they're really putting an emphasis on her relationships and really putting an emphasis on her character growth, because that would have been very easy for them to not touch on or focus on at all. But I feel like it's really important because, like he said, in the last game, she was an outcast. She had nobody. So just to have her dive in and have all these great friends that she trusts right away. And yes, it's always a possibility that that would happen just because she's so desperate to feel wanted. But that doesn't really seem like her personality from the last game. So I'm glad they're kind of addressing that in this game. So I'll be curious to see like what impacts that has on her relationships, new and old, like he mentioned, and how much growth she's going to make as a character in this game. Because I think that's, at least to me, you guys know I love my story beats in games, but I feel like that's really important, is seeing a character grow and evolve.
There are now 6 lengthy skill trees players can invest in based on their style. It should all pair nicely with the expanded arsenal of equipment and outfits you'll acquire. And in another nice twist on established systems, outfits are more closely tied to these skill trees, and some will offer stat boosts that can make skills even stronger.
I like how that looks.
Melee combat is also improved. There's a far greater fluidity in the animations and how they chain together, and it also seems like a more viable option in general.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Thanks to new skills like the impressive Resonator Blast.
Shit, guys, I'm not creative enough for that type of combat.
There will also be new weapons like the Javelin Thrower, while returning items like Tripcasters and standard elemental arrow options make a welcome comeback.
Do we still have
But
bombs?
there's
Those
now
are
a
my
wider
go-to.
amount of those elements as well, including acid arrows that can be deployed with a precise strike to use acid-bearing machines' own toxicity against them.
Oh, so
Machines,
that's what that is.
of course, are a major part of the attraction of Horizon's world, and at least so far, Forbidden West is still capturing that mix of wonder, awe, and trepidation that comes with meeting these creatures. There's a nice blend of new and returning machine types, like the acidic bristlebacks, returning scrappers and chargers, and even something new like the burrower. Guerrilla is clearly saving some of Forbidden West's biggest battles for players, including myself, to play through when the full game is released, but I did get to take on one of my most eagerly anticipated newcomers, the venomous Slitherfang.
We've seen that. It looks like they made some updates and improvements to the focus.
Forbidden West to try out its new arena, an optional area where players will take on various challenges, needing to finish them under a certain time limit to earn medals that unlock some of the sequel's best equipment.
I'm so bad at time
with
things.
its whole new suite of devastating attacks is a prime example of the ingenuity Guerrilla displays with Horizon's combat. Coupled with all the new weapons and skills, which I admittedly was still just getting the hang of, defeating the Slitherfang in time was immensely gratifying in the way taking down Zero Dawn's biggest foes was. But with new tricks for both Aloy and foes, these fights are a fresh joy to discover as I worked out the best way to succeed. Or at least survive. I played this particular battle in Forbidden West's frame rate mode, though I switched between the favoring resolution and performance options throughout, and found both worthy of my time.
It looked like the weapon wheel was bigger, like you could carry more in the weapon wheel.
Playing on PS5, Forbidden West World is a sight to behold, from stunning vistas with lengthy views to the enhanced level and amount of detail in a settlement like Chainscrape, to smoother animations both in and out of combat.
They haven't figured out the hair yet, though. The hair's still clipping. I don't mind, but
Forbidden West is frequently dazzling. Appreciably, whereas Zero Dawn's conversations usually involve tight shots on two characters talking, almost every conversation I had in Forbidden West saw the camera pulled back more and let characters be more uniquely animated in their movements and facial expressions.
Feels much more organic that way.
Looking at in this dump. It's nice to see you too.
Thankfully, we're only under a month away from getting to see all of this play out in full, and my time with Horizon Forbidden West has me more assured than ever that Guerrilla has really refined and evolved the Horizon experience with Forbidden West.
It doesn't seem like there's a timer at all,
Matt. Story and territory and combat to be had. But the slice that we did give you is really near the beginning of Aloy's journey, near the beginning of her sojourn into the Forbidden West, and also just the very beginning of her evolution as a character.
It's an easy comparison to make, but often an apt one. The leap here feels like it could be that jump from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2, which is saying something considering how solid Zero Dawn already was.
It really was.
Nearly every misgiving I had about the original seems to have been thought through, and then some. Aloy's new journey seems more robust and rewarding than I expected, while retaining the wonder and awe that its predecessor delivered.
That's an upgraded Terra Arrow.
I still don't know quite what the Forbidden West itself will hold, but after my hands-on, I've never been more excited to find out. For more, be sure to check out our Podcast Beyond conversation about even more details from our hands-on time with Forbidden West, and if you're interested in hearing about more PlayStation exclusives, be sure to check out our Art of the Level on an Uncharted 4's greatest chase sequence. And for everything else in the world of PlayStation, you're already in the right place, IGN.
All right, we've already seen that, so I'm going to stop it there. All right, definitely glad I watched that as I stumble through my words like always, because we saw a lot more gameplay footage than we have seen before. Some of it was duplicate from the last trailer, like the vault door scene. Obviously, some of it within this preview was repetitive, but we saw a lot more than we have seen before, at least that I've seen before. I'm really, really, really excited. This made me even more excited. Every time I think it's not possible to be more excited, there I go. Quick plug for Podcast Beyond. He mentioned it at the end. It's a great podcast if you like gaming news, so definitely check that out from IGN. Jonathan Dorbush does a great job at hosting that, so make sure to check that out. I'm going to give that plug since I used their video for this reaction. The only thing that I wanted to just throw out there is I loved Zero Dawn. It's one of my top games ever. I love it. I love it. I love it. I didn't really have any misgivings. When it comes to gaming and movies and TV shows, I'm very easy to please. It's not hard for me to fall in love with a game or to like something. So I didn't really have any misgivings. He mentioned that this improved upon things that he didn't particularly love last game, and I didn't really have any of that. So I'm a little nervous because obviously you need to improve, you need to change, you need to adapt your systems. But I hope that I don't like it less because they've changed some of those things. I don't think I will. From what I've seen with like the weapon wheel, like I said, it looks like you can actually hold more on the weapon wheel. It's been a couple months now since I replayed Zero Dawn, but the weapon wheel, from what I recall, you could have 4 things on it, and then you had to like switch things in and out. From the quick glimpse we got of this, it looked like there was a lot more on there. The focus looked improved. Obviously, the main look of it was the same, but when you were actually scanning a machine, when you're actually scanning a machine, the little hub that popped up looked improved. So I really do think it's just going to be some quality of life things that are improved. But that does make me a little nervous when he said, oh, they improved on things I didn't like. And I was like, shit, I already liked everything. The only thing that I struggled with a bit, he did mention, was the traversal. I'm okay with not being able to climb everything. I know that's kind of like the go-to now for games, but I'm okay with not being able to climb everything. But sometimes in Zero Dawn, it was difficult finding the path. I remember there was this one like plateau mesa thing down by Meridian, in that jungly area outside of Meridian, that I had to climb to the top to, and for the life of me, I could not find the starting point. So that was really the only time I super struggled, but I'm pretty sure I had to look up a video on how to climb this stupid thing. So I do get criticism for that climbing, and I am excited if that is improved a bit and we have more climbable surfaces, but I'm also okay with not being able to climb everything, even though I know a lot of people want every game you to be able to climb everything. That doesn't bother me. So I'm okay with that, but I'm super, super excited. February 18th cannot be here quick enough. and I hope we keep getting new glimpses of things like this. If you did not watch, I'm not going to react to this because I've already watched it, but they also released a Meet the Cast behind the scenes video. Watch that too if you're curious, because that was really cool as well. So make sure to also watch that. Thank you for watching my reaction / breakdown / thoughts video. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button when you do, so that you know when I post future videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it and hope you have an amazing day.